All right, Zig coming in on the top. Today on the show, we have an epic interview, one which I could not do alone. So I have a co host, Gabriel Xavier.
Hello.
And today we are talking with Matt.
Scheuermann.
And you might know him from his projects of No Target Audience, Americain War, The Sidekicks, and most recently, Lowercase Roses. Matt's playing November 13th at the Winchester with Sea Level and Austin Stambaugh, who you might recall from last week. And all these shows are linked together through a week-long benefit called Knitting for the NICU, Amy Baker benefit, which is benefiting my friend and coworker Amy Baker, who had some pregnancy complications and had to go into early labor, and it's also benefiting the NICU itself. We're collecting knitted and crocheted hats, bootsies, and blankets. And the whole thing's working where we're doing live streamed concerts and in-person concerts throughout the week, starting from the 8th and ending on the 13th. And you can either donate on the fundraiser by going to a show or to the link, which is all linked below, or you could donate by sharing a crocheted or knitted item, being a hat, blanket, or bootsies. And how the benefits breaking down is 90% of it is going to help Amy with her medical cost, and 10% is going to make what we call hope hearts, which are going to be crocheted little hearts, one of which stays, and these are for parents at the NICU, one of which stays with the parent, one stays with the baby, so that way the parent and the baby can always be connected in some way, especially during times like COVID where it's hard to be in the hospital for extended periods of time. That being said, this is also this is like a multi-tier show because this show in particular, the one Matt's playing, it's a celebration of the completion of the film Springfish, which Gabriel.
Yeah, so Matt, his project Americain War, which I think he said started around 2008, 2007, and went to about 2015, 14 or 15, I'm not sure. But we used a song from his record Rhetoric called Bricks, which is kind of his anthem. Um, definitely the one everybody would know.
Right.
And yeah, his music has always been kind of like lifeblood to me, and hearing it was like, um, or going to see him play at this venue in Lakewood called the Soggy Dog was very formative for me and my friend Austin and Henry, um, and really defining for like who we are as people and artists and whatever.
What was the first one you saw? Like first performance Matt did?
Oh, I booked a show at Mayhall's with him and Asinine. This is when he was playing with no target audience, and it was him, Asinine, and Amputeens. And I was telling you earlier, but I had listened to him on MySpace, um, and I was like, oh, this is the coolest music ever. And I was listening to it for about a year before I booked that show, and the music is so poetic and beautiful, and like I was not expecting, this like 7 foot tall guy, it's
Yeah.
like this imposing guy, but then he's like really sweet too, it was like kind of a shock.
Yeah, I recall the first time you took me to the Soggy Dog, and we talked about it a little bit in the interview, and it was just Matt and Andy doing an acoustic show, and my brain being blown because I haven't really been to a house show at that point, and the first one I go to is those two guys, which are both incredible singer-songwriters, and hearing a whole room just singing back every word with both of them, but especially the Americain War stuff, and just being like, this happens in houses? This is insane. This is like the only thing I could compare it to at the time was seeing Tom Petty with my aunt. And I know Cody's like right now with even me comparing that, but just hearing a whole crowd of people sing a song and be moved by it. But this was even more impactful because this was in a living room and this guy's in a wheelie computer chair.
Yeah.
And like it was so cool. And like that's been an endless source of inspiration for me songwriting wise and diving back into some of his work and knowing that he's still doing it and evolving as an artist and like the fact that we get to play a show with him.
Yeah. And yeah, what was cool for me, like showing you that is like I think I realized I had like taken it for granted, almost, because those Soggy Dog shows, like Matt was saying, there was like one a week, and that was just the Soggy Dog. They would also be playing. There was a couple house shows on the east side that would happen. They would play at the Grog
Agape.
Shop, and yeah, I think our initial group, we got so used to that we started taking it, not taking it for granted in a bad way, but it was just like the norm. Like,
Right.
oh yeah, this is what happens. You start a band and you play in these houses, and everyone loves it, and everyone sings along to the songs, and then to like bring you there, and you're like, this happens. And I'm like, yeah, this is every week for me. You know?
I remember being so floored by that and walking back, because we walked from your place to the Soggy
Yeah.
Dog, and just being like, whoa, like, this is cool. And
Yeah.
like,
We were probably like, calm down, Dave.
no, I'm for
this
sure.
is gonna be it. This is gonna be your life now.
This is it, dude.
We had to
Like,
sit you down.
definitely. And like, that's one thing I'm so grateful for all these people in my life, but especially you, for opening my mind to so many artists like Matt. Like, before I knew you, I didn't know the Fugazi. I don't know why I said it right. That Fugazi.
They play a lot of fugues.
They feel
That's
that
why.
a little fugage, Ian Mackay, or the whole DIY movement, or even Joe Strummer, and like so much of my musical and like philosophical world was opened and enlightened by stuff you shared, which wouldn't have happened unless we hung out at the was it Tree Huggers Cafe
Yeah.
Mike night, and
Right.
like, and that's why I'm super proud of all the work you've done to get to this point right now. When this is being aired, the film's going to be shown to a crowd of people for the first time, and that's not an easy feat. And like, especially during a pandemic, and like, that's always one of the things that inspired me about you. It's like this go at it, just do itness, and like, so I'm excited that we can help celebrate on November the 13th, and that beforehand we'll get to watch the film while you're in a pasture or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's why one of the reasons why I chose Bricks too is because it's so, even though like aside from like 3 people in the audience, I don't think many people will have heard it, but it it just pulls you in
Right.
in the same way as seeing Matt sing it in front of people in real life. I'm like, part of me is like, I hope just like, you and Austin just start shouting the lyrics at the screen or something, like it's a Soggy Dog show. You don't do that, but no, you can't. But yeah, just like that music makes me feel so communal,
Mhm.
and I think that's why I picked it. Even if like everyone's gonna be like, what's this song? It sounds cool, but never heard it
Right.
because it's 12 years old now, which is insane. The recording and the song is even older.
Yeah.
I think so. I think he wrote that a couple years before
That's
recording it.
but I don't know. That's the thing. Like, I'm sure there's a million scenes across the country like that we'll never get to be part of or even enjoy. And like, it's just cool to kind of like have that and be able to share it in this different context.
Yeah, and yeah, it was so important because it's so important to my life to include that song, and the film kind of starts with that song and then ends with an Andy Cook song, so it's kind of like paying tribute to both of them, I
Right.
guess.
Full circle.
Yeah.
All right. And
And
that's
one more little silly thing is Andy sings on Bricks,
oh yeah.
and he sings backup vocals, and I realized this when I was editing, but Andy's song, why can't I remember the name of it?
Blueberry,
No.
mulberry.
No.
Is it the one that's like
River Bones. Sorry.
River Bones,
River
okay.
Bones. Matt sings backup vocals in that.
That's like a really
I didn't
full
realize
circle
that
thing.
till I
That's
was like
yeah,
editing
that's
it,
cool.
and I was like, oh wow, they're on both of these songs.
It's sick.
But now we're just rambling.
Now we're just rambling. We're gonna play "Hallways of You" by Lowercase Roses. That was In the Hallways of You by Lowercase Roses off the album.
Titanic Planet.
So if you guys can like, rate, review, subscribe to the podcast on all the podcast platforms, it really helps me talk to cool artists and share those insights with you. Also, during this week of the benefit, if you can share, or even if you know someone who crochets or knits, or anyone who has interest in helping babies in the NICU or has nothing going on that week, any form of like sharing this event is going to go a far way, and we're going to help a family that's in need. And I will be eternally grateful, and be on the lookout for Spring Fish when it comes out. We are going to dive into our conversation with Matt
Scheuermann.
So to kind of jump into it, what do you have music in your family?
Uh, I guess so. My mom, I mean, definitely. My mom is a very good singer. She actually used to sing like opera,
Yeah.
and um, she does uh theater, and she still does theater, and like sometimes like movies. She's an actress, so she's very she likes to perform in various ways, but she's always singing and stuff. And then my dad was um, musical for sure. You know, that's kind of how I learned how to play guitar. He had guitars like lying around and stuff. Um, I'm pretty sure he was in like a band in college, but I don't think he. It was just like a fun thing for him. Um, and then, yeah, I feel like my mom's side of the family is like musically inclined. There, like when I was growing up, there would be like we would have like Christmas dinner or something, and everyone would at the end of it, like at the end of Christmas, people were just singing and like, but not like they were like all like harmonizing with each other and stuff. Like my mom's sisters are, I don't know, they all like to sing. So
Wow. Okay, so
yeah.
like that's pretty. Like, was your mom very like, or how did that enter? Like, how was that kind of put on? Was it welcome to you? It sounds like if everyone's singing, like everyone's just kind of welcome to sing, and we're gonna find harmony around you. But like, did they express interest in you getting into music, or was that just kind of like you were left and up to your own like devices, and like they supported it, or
I think they like I've been very fortunate. Like my family's always been very supportive of just like artistic endeavors at all. Like when I was growing up, I did like visual art. Like I was drawing a lot and like
mm,
um but yeah, when I got into high school, I started a band and stuff, and it was not, you know, you hear stories of people's parents who I don't know why, but they don't like when their kids play music or something. But it was like never that way at all. It was always like um it was always I was always supported, and like as far as like I mean like I remember I can remember like being in the car with my mom, and she would be singing along to like songs on the radio, and but like singing a harmony, and I just remember being like, that's not the same notes, but it sounds really good,
mm,
and just being like fascinated by that. um so I think that the environment was always positive. I don't think I don't think music was necessarily like pushed on me or anything like that, or like or it wasn't like, I don't know, people weren't in bands or anything like that. It was never like explicit music. It was just kind of, I think generally being artistically inclined was like, I was supported by it, which I'm very fortunate, you know. It's a very fortunate thing to have happened.
When you first started playing, were you like getting into punk and rock and stuff? And was there any like friction with your mom being into, you know, opera, or was she just totally supportive?
Well, I shouldn't, she did sing opera, but she was listening to the Beatles and like
Oh,
Aretha
okay.
Franklin and like,
Oh, awesome.
yeah, and like super into like James Taylor and Frank Sinatra and stuff. Um, so, but yeah, like when I started my first band, it was definitely like a punk band. Uh,
No target audience.
Actually, it was a band in high school. It was called Punch Drunk.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was like a three-piece punk band. Just hilarious. Just I don't know, just hilarious songs.
The
But
yeah.
it was very fun. And I don't know that my parents were like, sounds good. I don't think they ever said that, but they were like, you're doing something, you're with your friends, it's musical, so it's good. It's like a positive thing.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I that song Oliver on Surgical Pop kind of always like makes me think of those early days like with myself of being like a young teenager in a band in a garage and trying to
Hmm.
write songs and I always wondered if that's kind of like what you were going for if there was someone named Oliver in your life who was kind of like influential to you.
Actually, no. That's funny that you mentioned that song because that song was definitely about me kind of like thinking about like what you're saying, like just playing music when you're first starting out, or even not even when you're first starting out, but just kind of like keeping it simple and enjoyable and you know like analog for lack of a better term, like doing things uh I don't know, just doing things for fun and also for yourself and to be creative. But that song specifically, it's weird because I was reading uh those 33 and a third, those little books.
Oh yeah,
I don't
those
know.
are great.
Yeah. There was I'm pretty sure this was what I was reading. It was something, but it was about guided by voices.
Mm.
And there was this part of the one of those books that was about uh Robert Pollard when he was like, because he was like a school teacher, but he would like keep writing. He would like write all these songs and stuff. And I guess one time they had like a garage sale, and he was like beneath in a basement making all this noise, and people like didn't know what it was. I don't know. It's just like this little story that stayed in my mind, and I was like, that's really cool. And I'm a huge fan of Guided by Voices, and like and Oliver was just a name that felt good to sing.
Right.
So that's kind of like it's just like this. It's just like a fictitious character, basically what we're talking about, like kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
who likes to just, for lack of a better term, like do things in a punk rock way where you're just kind of like, you know, grabbing stuff in your garage and just making sounds with it and stuff.
Beautiful.
Were you kind of yearning for that more at that time or when you were making
I
that
think
record?
actually, yes, I think I was like, I don't know that I've experienced this too often, but I feel like I was actually looking for a sound, and I was like, for that whole album, like I wanted to record it to tape. I wanted to like do all these things that were kind of like hands on and I don't know, like simple as far as just like not questioning yourself too much about it and stuff. And it's weird because that album, I was recording it with my friend Russell, and we were recording it to like a reel to reel tape machine that he had. And then the reels got all fucked up. So there's like basically the whole album that got ruined.
Oh no.
And we had to like re-record it, my friend Matt up in the Poconos, which I'm happy with the way it came out, but
Yeah.
uh, it's just weird that happened. Like it was like, but yeah. So to answer your question, I think that like it was like the first full length of Lowercase Roses, and I wanted to be intentional about the sound and intentional about like you know making things that I thought sounded cool deliberately, you know. So
Right.
I definitely think that I've never really thought about that, but yeah, I guess that song like kind of sums it. And I guess the title, the album title comes from that song too.
Yeah. And
So
it's kind of your first solo album after, Sidekicks too,
hmm
so kind of having to like refine yourself, and that's really interesting.
yeah, definitely. And just the notion of like surgical pop, just like um, just loosely, the theme was just like in the vein of collaging things together as far as sounds and ideas and lyrics. You know, it's kind of why Oliver doesn't exist. It's just like, well, just go with it. You know,
Right.
it's just like, who cares?
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing. You know. So yeah, I guess there was like a. It's funny. I've never really talked about this music with people like so plainly. But yeah, it definitely was like a theme kind of thing.
Right.
Because
And
Yeah.
sorry if I get too like analytical, because I,
No
I
worries at all.
I kind of
No.
hate when people are like when we were making this film and people were like, oh, uh, what does this part in the script mean? And I'm like, I don't know, I just wrote it. But then when I'm
Right.
talking to other artists, I'm like, I want to know what every word means and why you used it. So
Totally.
apologies.
in
No,
that,
no, because I do feel like sometimes there are intentions. There are, there like are reasons, and there's sometimes people are really meticulous. But I appreciate the questions because sometimes, I mean, I feel like I've heard interviews or whatever where people are like, well, it there is no reason for it, and even that to me is like useful information. You know, I'm like, oh,
Totally.
that's cool. Like
Yeah.
it's like it's kind of nice to hear either or. You know.
Right.
yeah, there is a beauty in that, and like just thinking that something that means so much to you can mean nothing, kind of to someone else, or even to the person who wrote it.
Totally.
It kind of humanizes this thing you worship in a way, or this thing that moves you. Um, and
Absolutely.
that record does have a sound. That's a rockin' record. Um,
Oh, thank you.
it is. It's so guitar like, and Gabe and I were kind of going back and forth, and like, oh, there's some Pixies influence in here. There's
Yeah.
like, kind of going into that was was Guided by Voices like one of the like kind of tonal centers you were kind of trying to draw inspiration from for that record, or was there any like other people like that were or artists that were inspiring that record?
Guided by Voices for sure. I think. uh, Um, Let me think. Specifically, I don't really know. I think the Breeders probably.
Okay.
Really like the Breeders. I do like the Pixies a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. Like,
It,
I
it
think something. I think something like that. Guided by Voices. I mean, I feel like a lot of people like Guided by Voices for a lot of different reasons and stuff. But I think just something that generally influenced that album um, was just like I feel like they have such a if you listen to a lot of their stuff, they have such like a wide range of like types of songs, and I think just this notion of just like who cares, just record it. If you like it, record it, make an album. It doesn't have to be coherent in any way or like I don't know. So I think almost like aesthetically, almost like beyond the music, I think that band influenced that record a lot. And I mean, I haven't really listened to them in a while, to be honest. But like during that time, that was for sure. I was like, I'm gonna make a fucking record that's like, I don't know, just like weird. I'm gonna not weird, but just like I'm going to embrace these ideas that I have. I don't want to make. I don't really want to think about what other people are gonna think about it. You know, I'm sure there were other specific artists and stuff. But I do think that band was like during that time in my life was like a huge kind of just influence.
Interesting. Like, and with a lot of times, influence doesn't have to be direct. I
Hmm
like I like ACDC, so this record sounds like it. But
Yeah.
to kind of step it back to Punch Drunk, like when you're starting to like, because I remember one of the first shows I saw at the Soggy Dog was you and Andy Cook
Oh yeah.
in the upstairs the portion of it, and it was like an acoustic show, and like I just met Gabe. He's like, we're gonna go see this show, and it was you two, and you had this voice that just, and you still do. You had this. Your voice has this presence, and everyone in that room was singing every one of those American War songs at the time, and
Yeah.
like so. When you started to get into music, was there kind of did those harmonies that you would hear your mom sing kind of step in and like start to make sense? Did she kind of like guide you and like, oh, use your diaphragm, or like, did you have any like vocal tips, or did this kind of like this voice just come out?
I didn't have any like vocal tips necessarily, and
That's
it's
amazing.
funny because people like I've been recently asked about like vocal like breathing and stuff, and I don't really know anything about that stuff. I
Huh.
really don't. And but I think that something that happened when I started the first band I was ever in, when when you're like playing guitar and you're singing into a microphone, at least in my experience, you're singing differently than you have ever sang in your life. Like you're being louder because that it requires that.
Right.
To sing that loudly any other occasion would be kind of weird. And I think that like there's no way of you really understanding your capabilities and once and until you do that. And I think that like I'm still on this kind of like this like learning experience with singing where you understand that you like to do it and you push yourself in certain ways. And I think specifically with like the American War stuff, like I was pushing so hard all the time,
Right.
and it was like I think people responded to it almost because it was like alarming and like you know so maybe most of the time I could keep I could like sing somewhat in tune. So I think people were like, oh, that's pretty impressive that you can push that hard and stay, you know, listenable basically. And but that kind of like moving away from that has been really interesting too, because I just don't like to sing like that anymore. I don't really like to push that hard. And but it's still like this thing where like you challenge yourself just like you and your capabilities, and you listen to other people's voices and you're like you start to love all these other people's voices and stuff. But I don't know the technical aspects of it. And
Yeah.
there's a part of me that keeps myself purposefully ignorant about technical stuff. Like I know like the names of maybe 5 or 6 chords, and I don't really know
Huh.
how to play guitar very well. But like, and I don't know if that's right or wrong. Sometimes I definitely wish I knew like the more uh like how to properly play stuff and stuff. But
Right. Well, it's kind of like a Bruce Lee's got this thing like the way of no way, right? So
mm,
knowing that there is a way, but not having the know and the whole idea of the classically trained man gets stuck in the rut. So if you kind of
mm,
don't know that, everything still is inspirational and in like can be an open opportunity. And like listening to those American War, the records and the EPs, I'm like, man, he has to lose his voice all the time because like your range is like a high A. That's like I spent forever trying to sing okay, and I totally understand that never ending thing because you constantly change, and what I mean, your voice is constantly changing, so you're constantly learning, and that's the beauty of it. But like I was like, how does he do that for like a whole show? So it's to right now very like inspiring to hear that you're like I don't want to sing that much anymore because you would push it. So like and that's straining. Uh,
yeah, I mean honestly, I mean, it's nice of you to say that. I appreciate it, but it it was strenuous on my voice. I think I was doing it often enough that I got used to it. But like,
Hmm.
if I was to do that now, I would definitely lose my voice, I feel like. But it is funny sometimes. I used to think like I used to be like I'm singing like a '80s hair metal vocalist, like
Yeah.
but singing like I don't know punk songs or whatever. But like I don't know. It's just nice to like a nice thing about that era was understanding that I could do certain things. And
Hmm.
even nicer was learning that I just because I can doesn't mean I should or want to. And there have been people that, not like a lot of people or anything, but like people have asked me like, why don't you, they don't like, they've kind of alluded to like, why don't you sing like that anymore or anything? And I don't know. I'm just like, it just doesn't interest me. And I do enjoy singing this different way now where it's like the energy is still there, but it's almost used to like it's used in different ways. It's used to like hold notes differently in different ranges and stuff. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's more economic for sure. And
Yeah.
I was showing Dave because I have some of the no target audience stuff from like before you guys were like a full band when it was just you and Paul.
Oh
Um
yeah.
and that was like the first stuff I heard. I think I heard it on MySpace when I was like 14.
Hell
Um
yeah.
and I forgot like just how political it was and how you know what I mean. And I was like, where did that come from? Like, where did like your kind of like social conscience come from, and why was it so necessary to be like, oh, the lyrics should be political?
Well, I don't know. I think it was like I'm sure if I listen to him now, I'd just laugh at the lyrics. But like I think it was definitely, you know, punk music and whatever, punk politics had just had a really big impact on me. And I thought like I feel like it's the same story for a lot of people who go through that, especially during that era. There was like Anti-Flag, there was Against Me, there was like
Totally.
all these bands that were kind of explicitly political, even though it's arguable. Like I don't, it's arguable. Like were they really political? I don't know,
Yeah.
but like they were saying things that were very interesting and then I used to love like Dead Kennedys and like
Yeah.
um, the more kind of like whatever political kind of punk rock stuff. And so I think also I didn't really know what else to sing about. Like I think that during that time for no target audience, I can't even remember how old I was. I feel like I was like I think it was like my early 20s. So I was just going through a lot of very difficult stuff and rather than I don't think I had the language to really like describe what I was really going through. So I kind of got angry, and then it turned into like I think a lot of those songs were just complaining about stuff, basically complaining in a very vague white guy way of complaining about stuff. And
Sure.
so that's kind of what it came. I just think that's just what came out. Like it was interesting to me, and I thought it was like what I should be doing or what or but I don't know. So I think it's just a bunch of different stuff kind of
Totally. And
intersecting. Yeah.
yeah, when I was kind of like reflecting back on it, and it's interesting that you talk about like, oh, the a lot of the punk bands at the time, and there was that whole kind of like folk punk thing happening, um,
Yeah.
and like the no target audience and American War stuff seems like so of its time, and like not in a way that like it's not you, or you were putting on a front or anything like that. I don't mean that.
Hmm.
It was still obviously you. But I remember when I first heard the Surgical Pop album, I was like, holy shit, like this is Matt. You know what I mean? Like it felt
Yeah.
so pure. Like I could hear influences, but it seemed so like singular and organic. Um, I don't know if that's really a question, but if you have anything to say on that, like,
No, I appreciate that, and it's very nice to hear that because I feel like the history of my music is so weird and like not a lot of it exists online, I don't think. And so like for someone who has heard a lot of it, I feel like it's just nice for someone to be like, that was noticeable, like that was like when you deliberately changed. I mean, I changed the name. I didn't want to do that music anymore, and like I think it's very reassuring to know that kind of like pulled it off in a certain way. And I definitely agree with you. Like that stuff was like a time and place kind of thing, and uh, a lot of those bands like Defiance Ohio's, like a lot of those bands were really cool at the time, and
totally, yeah.
even if I heard those songs now, I'd be like, oh, I like this song a lot. But like, very strange. Folk punk is weird. I don't like it very much.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think it sounds good, but there's a lot of weird bands that came out of there. But when it was good, it was really good. And I think I think I kind of, that stuff really struck me. And I feel like I emulated that in a lot of ways. But yeah, I definitely appreciate you noticing, like, you know, me trying to just do my own thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It it's interesting. Like I don't know if you're hip to Victor Wooten at all, but Wooten has this kind of a concept of being in phase, and phase being like a type of phrase. So like in music, you have like musical phrases you say when you put it over a chord progression, and
Hmm.
throughout life you go through different phases, and in some way like every phrase musically has to end for it to make sense. And if it
Hmm.
doesn't end, it just seems like a long understandable thing. So like when things cap, that makes sense for that phrase, for that phrase, and Victor equates it to a phase in your life, and
Mm.
like I think that makes sense that you would start off like well, going into a punk thing, then taking that solo and then building it to where you are now. But like the kind of step back into kind of getting a timeline here. When did No Target Audience start from Punch Drunk? Like,
Well, Paul was in Punch Drunk. So my friend Paul, who I started No Target Audience with, we've been, we're friends since we were 10 years old. So we went to middle school, high school and stuff. So Punch Drunk ended, uh, I don't even know. I think this might be too, like, getting too personal or something, but there's a benchmark in my life that is when my dad passed away. So that was when I was 20 years old. And I don't think he ever like heard No Target Audience. So I think Punch Drunk ended probably when I was 19 or 20. And then No Target Audience, I think probably started like immediately after he died. So it's probably 20 years old. So that was 2005, I think. Must must have been when it started. And then yeah, it was just me and my friend Paul. We were doing like, I don't know what the hell we were doing. Just weird acoustic songs. And then we kind of added some more people. And I don't know when that band kind of faded away. I can't remember what year it was. I think 2008 or 2009 or something.
in
Yeah, I think you were kind of starting to do the American War thing as the no target audience thing was fading. I seem to remember there being some overlap, but
Yeah.
that was also a long time ago. So
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure American War, I started doing that in 2009. I think. So,
or when did
yeah.
that split come out? Because I think that
Or
was like
maybe
2007.
damn, was it?
Could be, yeah.
well,
2009 was the first time I ever went on tour, I think, with
mm,
American War.
Okay.
So I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you're probably right.
No, I don't.
was it So at that like when you start to do the American War thing, is that like are you the Soggy Dog? Is that like a is that where the hang is? Where like geographically are you at that point?
Yeah, so no target audience was I was living in Kent because I went to Kent for a total of 2 years over the span of many years, and then I dropped out. So I was just living in Kent with my friends who were still attending Kent.
Mm.
And so that's where I was when No Target Audience started. And then I met like Ken Dix and the people from like Asinine and the Sidekicks, like before I was in it, and some other punk bands when they would come to Kent and play. We did you ever go to Kent to see? So do you remember like Club Chameleon?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so that's where I met. That's where we like randomly would play shows together with like Cleveland punk bands that were from like more close to Cleveland. And when I met them, I met Kenny and Scott and like Sanders and stuff. So they were all living at the Soggy Dog, and I think that they had already been doing shows, but that was like um, just like I just wasn't aware of house shows or anything like that. So meeting those people was like nuts. Like I remember just going to so many shows, like every single weekend basically.
Yeah, that
And
that was so vital for I think everyone who was involved because there was just nothing ever like that, you know?
yeah, and there was like again, I think it was a time and place thing where like so many people were interested in this kind of music and aesthetic and like doing things, I don't know, like just in a more simple way and like so yeah, I feel like for, years after that I mean I remember there was times in my life where I was playing shows like at least once a week for like weeks and weeks. It was so weird. But
Yeah.
like, pretty cool and just that place was like you said, just it was pretty vital for a lot of people.
Yeah, totally. Sometimes I think like, oh, how many times did I see like Reverse the Curse or something? And it's like
Yeah.
at least like 30, you know?
Totally.
So funny.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the rhetoric recording a little. So I just love the production of that, and I know you did that with Andy, and I was wondering how much collaboration was involved with that in terms of some of the arrangements. I know you had like those songs already, but would you just kind of like throw down the guitar and the vocal and be like, Andy, you figure it out, or did you guys collaborate more?
Well, as I remember it, and this was kind of a long time ago, and um, I went to Oberlin where he was living, and then I think I had the songs written, probably some demos or something. But yeah, it was definitely like the type of thing where we would lay down one part of it, maybe a guitar and like scratch vocals or something, and then we would just kind of like be like, oh, it'd be cool if this was there, and we just add it, and then if it was kind of we just would layer stuff over and over, and uh, so as I remember it, it was pretty collaborative, and we were kind of just both stoked to just be working on stuff. I think like there was definitely nights where we stayed up all night just like recording like little guitar parts and like putting amps in hallways and getting weird sounds and like. But yeah, I feel like he just had a more of a pop sensibility. So that record, I feel like, and I haven't listened to it in years, but like I think it just has like a super super kind of crisp pop kind of vibe to it,
Totally.
which is all I feel like it was mostly like could be attributed to his influence.
Yeah, like Dignity has such a kind of like soul feel
Yeah.
to it. And I remember like, when you would play that solo, it sounded more like the folk punk thing, and then on that
Hmm.
record it's like Sam Cooke or Otis Redding or something. It's really cool. And
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
What would be like I guess a takeaway from working with Andy? Like what was like a production thing maybe you took with you to some of these new records that maybe you wouldn't have kind of thought about? Like do you put amps in the hall still? Like where are some like
I feel like I do weirder shit than that now,
oh
but
yeah?
like I think that working with him and that whole experience was the first time I was able to kind of learn how to trust my own ideas and be like just be okay trying things and like just I don't know, like generally understanding that like you can add and take away things from songs. They don't have to be just this thing that that you came up with and just recorded, and like
Mm.
that you can like manipulate them, and that can be a good thing, and then you can. So I think like just generally that was the first. It was like fun, and I've had experiences that even like very recently where like you're working on something with people and you realize that it's just like you're just like playing. It's like playing as a kid, you know. It's like
Mm.
this is just fun,
Totally.
and you're like, uh, all of you're only concerned about this. There's no like adult worries or fucking like existential crisis. It's just like you're in this room having fun with your friends and just like coming up with stuff. So I think that was just the first time that I really like appreciated that. Not maybe nothing specifically as far as like tonal stuff, but like I feel like I don't know, like I feel like I was just like, oh, I think I like music in general, recording music in general, and like
Yeah. Well, that makes sense because like I was talking with John from the band The Hush Drops earlier this morning, and like we kind of brought up this point where it's like music and like sports and theater are like the only like outlets or career paths that you play. Like the thing you do is play. You get to play. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like and there's something so naive and refreshing that when you look at it like that, when you have someone like dedicated and focused, like a Charlie Parker figure, or like take a Henry Rollins figure, someone who's like stern and this has to be the way. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's also fun too. You know, and it's important to realize that. And like it's weird, like because I feel like a lot of you get to a point with like, and I say you, maybe I mean you get to this point where it's like you work so hard to be able to do the thing, to be able to go on the mic and be confident in what you're doing. Maybe not like 100% confident, but confident you can express it the best way to your abilities at that moment. And
Hmm.
like sometimes it takes away that we're playing. This is fun. So that's beautiful that working with Andy kind of like brought that out.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And uh, I think maybe even going back to maybe like surgical pop, it was just like maybe just like another iteration of that kind of like getting back in touch with that theme. And it would be it would look different, but it was just like kind of going back to that, like, yeah, like, I mean, I feel like you both write songs, so like you know what it's like to just kind of exist in this weird improvisational space where you don't know what's going on. It's kind of like this foggy atmosphere, but you're
Hmm.
having fun and you're like, I don't know where I'm going, I don't know what that was or whatever, but it's fun and it's uh I don't know. I kind of don't like the word creative, but I
Yeah.
think that's what it is. It's creative. It's like, and going back to what you were saying, sorry, I think I have to plug my phone in. Hold on,
You're
sorry.
good.
Um,
Should check it.
going back to what you're saying, I forget his name, Victor something. I'm sorry, I don't know who that is,
Oh,
but
that's all right.
when you were saying something about phrasing and how those types of things change, and like when you're writing something, a phrase is over it and stuff, and that made me think about uh like vocally, lyrically. So like I feel like I've gone through, like when I've been playing certain, like when I've been writing, and there's like a chord progression that I like, and I'm singing a melody, but I'm just singing words that don't make any sense. There's been like eras where I sing one phrase over all of these different melodies, and I don't, and the phrase doesn't make any sense, but like there's this new phrase that I'm noticing that I'm singing now, and I'm like, this is just so weird. Anyway, maybe I'm going off the deep end there, but I feel like it's all tying to this kind of like open-endedness of creativity and playfulness, and like, just kind of letting yourself, there's this like sense of freedom that you're, I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like almost a secondary reality to tap into sometimes.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's akin to a lot of different things. I feel like it's like a meditation. It's kind of like I don't know, there's different ways to experience that, but I think for people who like music, that's the way we do it.
Do you practice writing? Like, do you just write when that phrase comes to you, or do you like have a set time? Like, I'm just gonna write stuff, work on music. Like, I always like to ask if there's like a kind of a creative practice to some degree, because meditation to some people is a practice.
Yeah.
Um,
I Well,
Hello.
like, oh, sorry, I'm just
Sorry.
thinking.
No, sorry. Sorry. Cody's trying to call. This. Hold on. Let me try to end Cody, so we don't have to.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh,
No,
you're good.
we're sorry.
All right. No, you're good. Sorry.
Go on.
All right.
Well, I think that this is something like, again, where I'm talking about how this isn't just like a never-ending kind of learning experience, where like nowadays I really want to like be more intentional about making time to deliberately write either lyrics or music, or work on music or something. But there really isn't. Like, if I'm being honest, it's just kind of like I play guitar kind of like sporadically. I love melody, so that's usually where any song starts, is just like some sort of progression in some melody that I enjoy singing. And then lyrically, I feel like lyrics are such a like, I don't think I'm a very good lyricist, and I think that that's something that I really would like to work on. And like, I think that when people are good at it, it's just like it's just amazing. It's so impressive, and so like, it's such a powerful thing when like lyrics and music line up and they make sense, and it's just like amazing. So I there really isn't like a set process, but generally I think it's like music and melody, and then basically the general vibe of the song. I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure this is going to be about this, and then later I'll just like excruciatingly try to come up with lyrics that make some sort of sense. And I don't know. That's just generally though.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't. There's this song on that record Titanic Planet that I put out last year that's like, it's called Color Blue, and that song, I think I wrote it in like 10 minutes or something, so like, it just depends. I don't know. It's weird.
That's a beautiful song, and it's insane to me that you think you're not a good lyricist. We both looked at each other like, what the fuck? And I gotta say,
Well,
it was super funny when we were shooting the scene where a character is driving and listening to bricks. We were playing it while we were shooting, and the character who's Austin, who you're going to be playing the show with, he's also a brilliant songwriter, and he was like, these lyrics are really clever. He's like, I hope to get to talk to this guy about his writing one day.
I'll just be like, I suck. I don't want to talk to you.
But that's
What?
I think
Oh,
that's
sorry. Go
so
ahead.
sorry. I was just gonna say like I think that's so inspiring because we're all trying to reach a thing, and I don't think anyone you ever feel there's not a point if you're doing a creative endeavor of any sort where you feel like you 100% have reached it, and like hearing you say that because Gabe and I have kind of like that was the first house show I went to was you and Andy Cook, and hearing a room sing every word with you, I was so inspired to get better at writing to make a song that's somewhat okay to what you were doing.
Mm,
Like, and I think we lead by example and just in general, like as people. So that to me that the fact that you have to do more, you feel, or you haven't got to the goal you want to is beyond exciting. Like,
Yeah.
which is so inspiring, my friend. Um,
oh yeah. I mean, I feel yeah. I think that like I don't know like, but it has never even been a question to me that like it's like I write a song. I'm like, all right, well, what's the next song? It's never like, all right, that's I'm done. I've gotten my point across, which is like, I mean, there's that old Dylan quote that's like, an artist is always in the process of becoming, which
mhm.
I think that everybody kind of would agree with that. The people that make stuff or whatever. I just think generally that's probably true.
Yeah, and I love there's another quote, I forget which poet said it, but he said a poem is never finished, it's only abandoned.
Yeah, that kind of thing. I think
Yeah.
it's cool, and I think I don't know. I feel the older I get, the kind of I have to be like I have to be like, you should be proud of yourself for still enjoying this and still enjoying other people's art, other people's music, all these, I think that it's so easy to kind of drift away from stuff or get bitter or something. And not to say that I don't have my moments of that, but like just generally I'm like I just still fucking love music. It's I think it's worth like taking the time to be like I think that you should acknowledge that and be happy about that. And I think that's like a good sign. you know.
100%, because so many people spend their whole life trying to find a thing to have like an unknown enthusiasm for or a spark of joy. And like I personally feel like insanely blessed that mine is organizing loud sounds and being
Mm,
like, "Hey, look at my sounds." But if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be in this room with the dog and Gabe talking to you. And like as weird as that sounds, like it led somewhere, and like so many of my friends who are going through life and like are working to find that purpose and find that thing they want to do, not even the
hmm
thing they should do. And like I don't know, I agree with you. Like it's good just to know you enjoy it. It doesn't have to be like selling out the agora. It just matters if it sells out your heart, and moves you, which I think is the most Austin thing I said today, Gabe. um,
Oh, I love it. That's cool. Wait, so this the person who stars in the movie is also a musician?
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, word. Okay, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
yeah. I worked with him at Guitar Center, and he's more of a country folk singer songwriter, and he met Gabe through other means,
Yeah.
and then Gabe, I guess I can let you explain a little bit of your
I
film.
I mean we're talking to Matt.
I know, but
Yeah, we can
No, it's all good.
um,
um oh go ahead.
so like while all this is going on and you're doing American War, when did like the Sidekicks thing happen?
Uh, let me see here. Okay, that was definitely 2009 because
That was when
I
Weight of
think
Air came out, right?
I think so. And
Yeah.
yeah, I basically just joined them for like at the beginning of that record. So yeah, I remember. I don't know if either of you remember that when the Sidekicks would play they would have two people in the band that sometimes just like wouldn't show up. I
Yeah.
don't like. Yeah, there was bass player and a guitar player,
Mhm.
and sometimes they were just kind of like unreliable people. But I mean, they're cool people. But like,
Yeah, yeah.
I think Steve was just like looking for other people to join. And then I remember us kind of bonding over, again, like these harmonies. Like that was when the Avett Brothers were big and everyone was listening to them. We were super into them, and we would like be at parties or something and then just start like singing harmonies together.
That's
Yeah.
And
awesome.
then like, yeah, and then I think he was just like, would you like, he wanted to join the band, and I was just like, hell yeah. Like I was a huge fan of theirs. I mean, that was, after So Long Soggy Dog came out. And that, I feel like that album was like, I remember hearing that for the first time, just being like, I can't believe this is like a local band. Like, this is
Yeah.
nuts. It's
And they
so
were
good.
like 17 or 18 too.
Oh yeah. They were
Yeah.
so young and just
Yeah.
like, but yeah, so I think he asked me, and then I remember, yeah, like jamming with them, I think, and at the Soggy Dog in the basement. And then, I can't really remember like what the status of like No Target Audience or American War really was. I mean, I was definitely doing American War still. I don't know if No Target Audience, like, I don't even know if we ever like officially broke up or anything, but like I think we were just not doing stuff. So I was just like, yeah, I'll do this. I'll be in your band. And then uh I don't know. I just kind of stayed in the band for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The harmonies with that are also beautiful, and yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun experience being with that band. And but yeah, again, I just feel like it was that era where I was just pushing so hard, and like I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
they
know.
they kind of toured nonstop, and
Yeah.
yeah.
What was that? What was the song you were showing me? The second track off it that
Oh, the
starts off
first
the
track,
harmony.
yeah, the Let It Breathe song, yeah.
Yeah, that those harmonies you're singing are so high on that, and like
Oh yeah, they're like abrasively high, and it's like, again, I feel like it's like a type of thing where it's like, oh, it's cool that guy can hit that note, but like, should he be doing that? And should it let like, does it serve the song? I don't really know, but
definitely I think in that case it served the song. It made it way cooler. But like, but like I totally get what you're saying, and I think so much of like life, and especially if you have a creative endeavor, right? Is you're learning what you can shave away. It's kind of like when you have a marble sculpture, you take away from the rock to bring out the figure, and
right.
like. I don't know why I say it like Jack Black, but like you take away from the rock and you strip it down. That's why Nirvana Unplugged is so moving. I don't know, but you know what I mean. Like the more you take away, the more it kind of resonates, and it sounds like you had your hands in so many different like pies that were like based in that, and like it's I don't know see where it came, and like when Lowercase Roses became the next outlet, it makes a lot of sense, and because I those records, both of them are, and there's the EP, like they're all full of this depth, and so with this new one, because we really haven't talked about it too much, there's like this whole new tonality, like with like synths, and like there's this room, like there's space in it. Not that there's
Hmm.
not in the first one, but like, was there like another set of influences that kind of brought that out, like, or is that something you're aiming for? Because I kind of feel a little bit like Symptoms, the last American War project, had that space, and it's interesting to see it in Lowercase Roses form.
Yeah, I agree. I think that uh there were similar kind of like uh just similar kind of occurrences or paths that happened between the first and second American War record, and then also Lowercase Roses. I think that like for Titanic Planet, the Lowercase Roses one, I think that like I had worked on that album for a long time. It was like 2 years, um, off and on, with like huge breaks in between working on stuff. But it was just me and my friend Matt, um, up in the Poconos recording stuff. And I think I wanted to definitely embrace keyboard and synth sounds more, because I just thought I just have like, I don't know, I just think they're really cool, and I kind of don't know why I haven't used a lot of them in my previous music, but so I think that was definitely intentional. And then like, I don't know, I think I just wanted the album to have a lot of peaks and valleys, and like more of like a 360 experience. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but just like more of like a,
It has an emotional range to it that's really beautiful.
yeah, I feel like you can like look around more, whereas like Surgical Pop was like, I really am proud of that album, but it's definitely like I don't, I think it's just I don't know, it feels like you're looking kind of in the same general direction the whole time.
Yeah, there's definitely that space, right? And I get what you're saying. Like, it almost can be circular, where if you listen to the start or from start to finish, you can kind of loop it. And
Hmm.
that's definitely like, I think the more like you get into songwriting or any type of art, like, it's finding ways to make like not the micro, which in this case would be a song, like make sense from start to finish, but the macro, which would be an album, or maybe even bigger macro, which would be like a whole, that sounds like a fish, but a whole career, you know. So that makes sense where it kind of evolved. And like, so now doing this live, like it sounds like you kind of mentioned you were like playing the tracks. Are you looping stuff to get some of this atmosphere? Like, are you, or do you have a whole different set when you play live?
Well, you know, I haven't, I mean, since pandemic, I've only really played one show in the last like 2 years, basically. But the show that I did play, I basically was like, all right, this is like the 25-minute set that I'm going to play. These are the songs. And I basically kind of like I like re-recorded instrumentals for those songs and
Hmm.
put like um like just more keyboard stuff, like sequencer kind of stuff, and like, and then I would just play along to those tracks that I made with a guitar, and then uh sing as well. They were definitely like staying true to the way that the recordings sounded, but they were definitely like different a little bit. So it wasn't like looping or anything. It was just me. I just like re-recorded, literally just press play on my phone and then just play along to these songs. Um, but I recently played a like streaming set for
Oh
this
no.
like streaming thing,
Yeah.
and so during that one I was gonna do the same thing, but then I was like, I think I'm just gonna keep it super simple. So I just played me an electric guitar, and changed some of the vibes of some songs, but I was just like, I'm into that. So
Mm.
that's what I'm gonna do at this show with you. And but speaking of like live stuff, only very recently have I reached out to some friends and I'm like, you guys want to be in my band? And they're like, yeah. So I don't know. I would love
Sick.
I would love to have like a full band and try to pull these songs off like with all their different parts and stuff. So that,
That'd be
and there's
amazing.
definitely, I mean, I would love it. And Philly's like nuts with, there's so many musicians and so many people doing stuff. So uh but yeah, this is like very recently. I'm like, what you should do is you should have a release show where you play this Titanic Planet from front to back, with like a full band.
We will be
And
there for that.
Road tripping.
Yeah.
that'd be rad. But yeah, I think the goal would be definitely like, I mean, my dream would just to be to have like people play with me, but then also if I wanted to play alone, even the same show, like it's kind of the peaks and valleys things. Like I would love to just have the freedom to just like interpret songs differently with different people. I would love to have, what different shows call for, like if there's like a chill show and just like strip everything down. Like that would be really cool, but that requires a lot of planning and people and
Yeah. Were you
freaking.
missing that? Because you haven't played with other people live at least since like what 2015.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But then I just joined a band called Golden Apples.
Oh,
So
really
like,
cool.
yeah, that's my friend Russell's band. And I play bass in that band and like sing harmonies and stuff. So that experience has been. I remember telling him, I was like, yo, like I haven't played with people in years, and like the last couple of months we've been jamming a lot, playing shows and stuff, and it's just been so fun. And I basically was like, hey, anybody in this band that wants to be in my band can be in that band too.
Do you
So,
you ever play
well,
Connie's Rick Rack?
no.
Okay, it's on the south side of
Oh,
Philly.
is that like a bar or something? I
It's
feel
like
like it sounds familiar.
it's like a grog shop. If I had to
Oh,
describe it,
word.
it's like the grog shop but smaller. It's in between the cheesesteak places.
Oh, really? Whoa.
Yeah, or it's not, maybe not in between, but it's on that street on that side of town.
Yeah, Pats and Geno's. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have? Are you going to stake a claim? Do you have a? I don't know if you eat meat, but if you do, have you had one of the Philly cheeses? And do you have a flag to plant there?
Well, I don't eat meat, and
For
I have nothing. I mean, there honestly are really good vegan cheesesteaks here,
yeah.
but I don't think that's what the answer people are looking for.
No, that's awesome. I
I
was
think most of our listeners
right,
are
right. Well,
vegetarian. We are, so
except for Cody, he's gonna be like, but
yeah.
the three of us will be. So you'll have to show us where the vegan places are.
Yeah, yeah. There's a place called Blackbird that has a really, really good vegan cheesesteak that if you're in Philly, you should check out. It's very good.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome. That's exciting. That's exciting that there's gonna be hopefully a full band version of it, my friend.
Yeah, I hope so.
Do you find comfort kind of in the solo thing? Like knowing that I only have to worry about me showing up and like even though it's a lot on the performance because it's all on you, is there a reason like you kind of stuck more with that mode of like kind of expression of everything?
Yeah, I think that you're basically right. I think that I think if I really analyze it, it could definitely be like a response to a lot of things in my personal life where I'm just like, this will be all on me. I don't have to, depend on anybody or have anybody be like associated with this thing. I can just, if I want to do this, I can do it. And it's been very, I love doing it. And it's like, sometimes it can be so intense and nerve wracking, but I really love the fact that I can get through something like that. And I don't know, like, just like, um, still get across these songs and these feelings or whatever. And
Right.
I think like even this one show that I played like in the last couple months was super nervous the first like song or two, and then I was just like I just got comfortable and I was like having so much fun and kind of just like I feel like I was doing a pretty good job, and it's just really nice to know that like you can hold your own if it came down to it.
Right. Was that the
But
streamy one?
that was I played well the streaming one too, but like
Yeah.
the one I played before that was
Okay.
just like it was like a backyard house show in West Philly. And but yeah, I think that I definitely enjoy it, but now I'm like I really just want to play music live as much as I can, and I think I'm just realizing that like people want to see, they want to hear like music, they want to hear like a lot of things going on, and now I'm like I want to do that too. I want to experience that and play songs for people that are like lush and full and like um so I don't know. Yeah.
No, it makes sense. And
Yeah.
like it is as an acoustic act. it's hard to get a certain, even if you're abrasive, even if you're loud, like it's hard to get people to move the same way because they're hearing the beat based on what you're playing, but when it's there, they feel it more. You know what I mean? Not that it's not there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think that, like, again, it's a time and place, or like I feel like if you are going to a show that is like a singer-songwriter, and then
Right.
that's going to be the vibe, and then like if I played like the opening, it would make sense. Like people are prepared for that. But yeah, I feel like, I mean, another thing I'm looking forward to, hopefully if this happens, is just like seeing what they become, like what these songs become, and like seeing what my friends will bring, what they think about adding to stuff or whatever.
So you opened the kind of like I just thinking of that. You opened for Against Me, right?
Yeah, it was fucking wild. I opened.
Right. How
I opened.
that's
Well,
crazy.
yes,
Well, there's the
like
Sidekicks tour, right? Too, right?
yeah. We did a tour with them, which is just nuts, because that was the biggest band in my life for when I was like in high school and a little bit after. So being able to tour with them was just absolutely, it was like amazing. But yeah, so I feel like Laura and I kind of kept in touch, you know, throughout the years. And uh, she had asked me to play this show with her in Chicago in 2017, just like a one-off. So I went out there. I was like, hell yeah, I'll do that. So I went out there and played with her. And then a year after that, I just was like, texted her, and I was like, yo, like, if you guys are ever looking for like, an opener or anything, like I just had a lot of fun doing that last year. Like, just let me know. I'm just putting it out there. And she immediately was like, yeah, you want to play with us in Speedy Ortiz? And I was like, what? Yeah, hell yeah.
It's amazing.
So yeah, it was nuts. And yeah, um, just, it was Toledo and Columbus, I think, when I played with them. And freaking surreal, it was very, very fun. But yeah, I played solo for those shows as well.
That's like, oh, sorry, I heard some clipping. I thought my batteries. That's insane. That's like the bit. That's like, I don't know. It's interesting that you kind of have this arc of like finding these people you're inspired by and kind of getting that be invited. You know what I mean? Along for the ride and able to do your own thing. So like when you're playing for that type of crowd, does it did they like with the lowercase roses stuff? Did people? I'm just curious. Did they latch on? Did you get opener syndrome? You know what I mean? Like where they're like, "Ah, bring out Against Me," or what? What was that like? Because personally, when you're up there, like, "I'm here with my heroes. This is insane," and like, but everyone there is like, "You're in front of the person I'm here to see." Was it like that? Was it welcoming?
Well, I think it was good reception overall, and it was just two shows, and it was also like Speedy Ortiz was playing too. It was like not just like a straight up punk show or anything. It was
Yeah.
like a somewhat. I mean, Speedy's definitely still like a rock band, but like I think the people that attended the shows were, I would say, more just like accepting and open minded, and I had a great time. I feel like the reception was really good. I just remembered that I did do the thing where I played along to some tracks as well for those shows. So there was a little bit more music going on than just me and guitar. So I think people were like digging that kind of thing.
Okay, that's hard. Because you never know what the PA is gonna be like. You know what I mean? Like,
Definitely.
like even though like it may sound fine out there, the monitor situation's more muffled. You're really in your head with it like that. Like,
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think I definitely got lucky. Like the places we played were like, I think they actually sounded good, like, on stage and off stage. So, and I didn't even think about that stuff. Like I didn't know, I didn't even consider like, this might not sound very good, but yeah, I think it kind of did. So,
well, clearly you got called back. You know what I mean? If it didn't, that's insane. That's so cool. Well, Matt, thank
Yeah,
you
it was
so
fun.
much for hanging out with us and having this conversation. Gabe and I have been going back and forth. We've been wanting to do an interview with you for a while now, and and for even doing this show. Like this is
Yeah.
super cool, and we're super stoked about it.
I'm
Oh
excited to
yeah.
see you play again. I think the last time I saw you play was at Mayhall's, and it was the week Trump won, and it was probably like the bleakest show
Oh, was
I've
that
ever
with
been.
Max?
Yeah, Max played, and he was leaving Cleveland, so it was like sad on that level. And then
Yeah.
like also the whole atmosphere was so dark, you know.
Oh yeah. I remember that. It was terrible.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, thanks for asking me to do this. This was really fun talking and like
likewise.
it, I'm very excited to play. It's gonna be funny. I'm pretty sure like some of my family's coming and stuff to the show,
Awesome.
so
Yeah.
it'll be a nice little time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice,
Cool.
nice, awesome, Matt. Well, thanks so much, my friend. Really
Thank you. It
appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you.
was good to catch up.
Yeah, for sure. I'll see y'all soon.
All
Cool.
right,
Take
sounds
care.
good. Catch it.
All right. Later.